We've got 2 days left of September. I got way too much to do in this last weekend, so I'm filming my wrap up now because this is about as much reading as I'm gonna get for the month of September. Hello everyone, my name is Mara. Welcome to or welcome back to my channel, depending on if you've been here before. If you've been here before, then you know that now is the time for my September wrap up, as I do every month. This month, I will be honest, I didn't read that much at the beginning because I was so busy, and then I got to earlier this week and I was like, oh my god, I haven't read anything, so I kind of binge read for a good 3 days straight, and I was just reading like non-stop. Like, I couldn't stop reading. The first book that I read, I actually can't remember if I put this in my August wrap up or not. It says I started it in August, but I finished it in September, so I'm assuming I haven't talked about it yet. I did do a video where I was reading Kindle Unlimited books for a week, and this was the first book that I was reading in that video, and that was Mile High by Liz Tomford, and it's the first book in the Windy City series. It was a Kindle Unlimited book, so I don't have it in my possession, but I'll put it up on the screen somewhere. This is a hockey romance book, and it's about Xander, who is kind of portrayed as this guy who is this massive player, and he is just known for having all of these girls at his hip at all times, and that's kind of a stunt pulled by his PR guy. He's like, you know what, if you want to make the most money in your job, you need to have all of these women at your side at all times. And he's like, okay, I'll do it because he's telling me to, so why wouldn't I? He ends up meeting Stevie, who is one of the flight attendants for his team's private jet. He's kind of giving her a hard time, and she's like, I hate this guy, he's so arrogant, he's so conceited, he's so annoying, I hate him. He just like keeps pushing a little bit more just to like have interactions with her and have that satisfaction of pissing her off. They end up sharing a lot about themselves. He's definitely not like at first the most attractive character because, like I said, he's kind of portrayed in this way to where he only cares about fame and he only cares about having women clung to his side, but he ends up showing his real colors, which are a little sweet. I really liked this book. There were certain things about it that knocked it down a little bit in my rating, but I gave it a 4.25, so I still generally really liked this book. I actually read the next book in that series, The Right Move, and that is about Stevie's brother and Indy, who is another flight attendant. I think in like a week and a half-ish is when the third book in that series comes out, so I will be reading that, and that'll be in my October wrap-up. I gave The Right Move 4.75 out of 5 stars. Stevie's brother Ryan is on Chicago's basketball team, so it's all about different sports, but it's in the same series, and they're connected a little bit, but you don't need to read every single one to like enjoy the series. You could definitely jump around and skip some of them. What I loved so much about this book was Indy. She is someone who becomes one of Stevie's really good friends from work. She's just like so real. I feel like I connected with her personally so well. She needs somewhere to live because her and her long-term boyfriend broke up, and so Stevie is like, you know what, my brother has this really nice apartment, he lives by himself, it's a big place, and he doesn't need all that space for himself. Let me see if I can set you up and have you stay with my brother. And Ryan's super against it for a while, and then she just basically ends up moving in anyway. So it's forced proximity. She moves in with him, and he starts to become really protective. This is like so unrelated to what I was saying, but I love when books have text messages in them, and this one has text messages, and like, I don't know why, I just love it. Ryan has this persona where he like does not date, and then of course Indy comes in and that changes a little bit. They end up fake dating because I forget what like the premise is, but there was something with like his manager of the team or like somebody in charge of the team. He thought it would look better if he brought a date to this like gala that they were doing. I don't know if I have it like 100% correct, but it's pretty close to that. I just don't remember who the person was that he's trying to convince that he has a girlfriend to, but they end up fake dating. Of course, when there's fake dating, there's jealousy involved because eventually it turns into real feelings, and then Ryan gets really protective of Indy. I love her. She's a reader. She's so real. He built her a bookshelf, guys. Like, next up, I read Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is a retelling of The Queen of Hearts. I kind of already knew going into it what I was gonna be getting. The storyline is a little bit different because it's telling like a romance story in that aspect. It's a fairy tale fantasy, which is one that I'm normally not a big fan of, so the fact going into this, I really liked it because I normally prefer high stakes, adventurous fantasy. I love Fourth Wing, I love ACOTAR. I was like, you know what, I kind of already know the story and I've heard so much about it that were really great things, so I figured I would try it, and I loved it. It was so fun and just really sweet story. I loved seeing like the shift because obviously, as everybody knows, this isn't a spoiler because like everybody knows the Queen of Hearts is kind of portrayed as a villain in some aspect. Seeing her just be like, a young girl in love, and then the shift of when she kind of starts to become a villain was so interesting. So I really enjoyed this book. I want to read more of Marissa Meyer's work because I really loved that one. Then I read Flawless by Elsie Silver. This is the first book in the Chestnut Spring series, and this book is talked up so much on BookTube and Book Talk, like it's crazy. I wound up giving it 2.5 3.5 out of 5 stars. I didn't love the characters. Her dad is the agent of Rhett. Eaton, he goes by Eaton. She ends up babysitting this guy because the premise of it is he like bashes milk. Like, he tells everyone he doesn't like milk, but he's like a milk sponsor. He like loses his sponsorship with this milk brand. I don't know. Her dad is like, okay, you need to go like babysit him and keep him on track so he doesn't ruin other sponsorships. It's supposed to be enemies to lovers. I didn't feel that. I mean, I think they just didn't like each other, but it wasn't really enemies to lovers. I didn't love the characters or the setting. He's a bull rider, and I've never read a book like that before, and I honestly think I'm good. Like, I just didn't love that kind of aspect of it. I didn't think they had like a very strong dynamic at all. I felt like the whole plot was based around the idea that it's enemies to lovers, but like they do still work together in some way. And there was really nothing of them like working together. It was really just her like lingering and watching him and everything he did to make sure he wasn't gonna act up. I just felt like Summer was rarely there. She's the main female character, if I didn't already say that. She really didn't even have much of a story until it was about to end. I'm gonna keep reading the series because people talk about it so much, but I didn't love this one. The next books I read, I'm just gonna wrap up into one because it's 3 books in the same series, and that is the Summer I Turned Pretty series. I already know a lot from the show. Like, I hadn't read the book beforehand. I wanted to know what was gonna happen in the 3rd season, so I was like, let me read these. You guys know the premise of it. I'm not gonna explain it too much because if you don't know, you can find that somewhere else, but I feel like everybody does. I wound up giving them generally 3 stars. I feel like I only gave them 3 stars though because I saw the show, so like I know how this plays out. I think otherwise I wouldn't have rated it that high, but I did rate the last one 3.5 out of 5. So I liked that one a little bit more. There was more drama, more tension there. I'm not gonna like sit and say too much about it because everybody knows about the series. Everybody kind of knows what happens there. Next, I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I read this book 2 years ago and I gave it 2 stars. I thought I was in a reading slump and that's why I didn't like it, but I realized after reading it this time that I just don't like the book. I don't like the characters. If you don't know the story about this book, it is about a Hollywood actress who has been acting over the course of her whole life. It's told over like 60-70 years of this woman's life named Evelyn Hugo. She has all of these husbands that she kind of gains and goes through these relationships like to kind of further her career, except for one of them. There's like one husband that she has that's genuinely out of love. All of them are for her own personal gain. Some of them, they've both worked together to be like, let's get married because it'll make us look really good for this movie that we're doing. It'll be good promotion. Some of them, it's for her own personal gain. I just don't like Evelyn, okay? I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I do. I just don't like her. Celia deserved better. The whole plot of this and what gets everybody with this book is the fact that she has all these husbands, but throughout her entire life, she's in love with a woman. She does her so dirty. Her internal monologue is saying like, oh, Celia would be upset with me if I did this, and then she goes and she does it anyway. Like, I can understand why people would like this book because there's a lot of drama involved. I just can't stand like the way she treated Celia. She was like, we have to pretend like we're married to these men so that we can actually be together, and it's like, but the people that she was marrying to cover up her relationship with Celia was people that she was working with, so she had like some sort of relationship with them, and then Celia would get jealous and Evelyn would be like, why are you jealous? I'm doing this for you. And Celia's like, you don't have to do this for me, I never asked you to. So I don't love this book, okay? I think Celia deserved better, and I also know that this book is told over the period of like 70, 60-ish years. I wish that we could have seen more of Celia and Evelyn's relationship brewing from the start rather than just being like, oh, and also this has been going on for 10 years. I didn't love this one. I think I'm over it at this point. I don't need to read it again. I've made my decision about it. I think I'm good. But I can understand why other people would like it. I didn't mean to kind of go full swing there. The next book that I read was The Grimrose Girls. This book I'd had on my shelf for like a year, almost 2 years. And I was really excited about it. It's kind of like a thriller mystery. I think it's YA, but it's about 4 friends and one of them died. Everybody says it's a suicide and her friends are saying, no, it's not a suicide. This is really weird. She wouldn't have done this. They realize that all these deaths are happening at their prep school and they're all linked to ancient fairy tales, okay? This book I gave 2.5 stars, I think. I wasn't a big fan of it. I think it was just longer than it needed to be, and on the back it leads you to believe that they're going to break the cycle of these deaths in this book, but they don't. That happens in the sequel. So I'm like, why did I read this book then? Like, what was the point? In this book, they find out like why this is happening and like, I guess who's dying, but they're actually doing the saving and like, in my opinion, the more interesting stuff in the sequel. So I feel like I just kind of wasted time here. Like, I don't think I needed this entire book because look at how thick it is. And I feel like I just wasted some time. But I do think it was interesting. If you like a kind of fantasy thriller mystery, I would go for this, but just know you're gonna have to read the sequel really. And I don't think I'm gonna do that, but it's thick. thick, and I was like, where's the plot? Next. I was really hoping I wasn't gonna have a DNF this month, but I did, okay? And that was Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren. I was so excited for this book. Nobody warned me. Blaming all of you for not warning me because you guys watched my September TBR video and you didn't think to say, girl, watch out. I started reading this, page 10 rolled around, and I had to put this down because I was disgusted. This takes place in a workplace setting. It's about Chloe, who is an intern to Bennett Ryan, who is supposedly blunt, inconsiderate, and completely irresistible, hence the name Beautiful Bastard. He has returned to Chicago from France to take on a vital role in his family's massive media business. He never expected that the assistant who'd been helping him from abroad was the gorgeous, innocently provocative, completely infuriating creature he now has to see every day. Despite the rumors, he's never been one for a workplace hookup. Page 10, she's bent over the desk. I was like, what is going on in this book? It was so gross in my opinion. Like, I understand some people like this kind of stuff, but I just could not get behind it because Bennett is literally like touching her at work and she never once initiated it, from what I read at least in the first like 10 pages. That was initiated by him and I just felt like there was no like, is this okay? Yes, this is okay. Like, I think there was consent, not enough, okay? And I just wasn't like I couldn't anymore. So for my own discomfort, and instead of giving this a book like a really bad rating because I didn't enjoy it because I forced myself to read it, I DNF'd it. For my sake and the book's sake, this was a DNF. Ugh. Like, I literally had the heebie-jeebies reading it and nobody warned me. And I was like, this is really gross, actually. I don't enjoy this at all. The book I'm about to talk about, I actually read before I read Beautiful Bastard, but it's literally fine, like who cares. This was another reread. I read this book about 5 months ago. I gave it 4 stars. This time around, I gave it 2.5, and that's Twisted Love. I had read this book and I really, really liked it, but reading it again, I was like, there's some things going on here that just aren't really okay, and you guys know what I'm talking about. This book is about Ava and Alex is Ava's brother's best friend. Ava's brother ends up moving for Ava's sake. Her brother is like, okay, somebody's gonna move in with you. It's Alex, his best friend. They're living together and he ends up possessive of her. She just kind of is doing whatever she wants and he's like, no, actually you're not gonna do this kind of stuff. Even though she's however old and she very much can be doing that stuff. I think she was like 22, 23. He's like 26. She's an adult, you can relax. She has trauma with swimming and ocean and water and all of that kind of stuff because of an incident that happened when she was younger. Alex's family was killed in front of him, so he has trauma there. There's some parts that are really sweet in this book, like Alex teaching Ava how to swim. Really sweet. That's really nice, right? What happens here is when they get into a relationship, he is very much primal and vulgar and it's a little too much for me. You gain more knowledge about why Alex does what he does and why he kind of works for his uncle and like what his uncle's doing that's kind of suspicious. You learn more about the incident that happened with Ava, everything that happened with Alex's incident as well. Then everything that is revealed, suddenly everyone just like forgives it. I just feel like there's no way that this could be forgiven in my eyes, and there's no way that her brother could forgive it. My brother would raise hell, okay? I don't know why. Like, I know this is fiction. If we're thinking critically here, like, how is this okay? How did everybody just say like this is fine? I gave this 2.5 stars. I have the rest of the series. I've heard great things about it. It was an entertaining book, but if we're talking literally like, is this stuff okay? It's just not. The next book was a 5-star, everyone. It was a 5. The next book I'd been wanting to read for months, had not stopped thinking about it, and when I got it, I started reading it immediately, but I was trying to pace myself because I knew I could read it a very short period of time. I wanted to absorb it, I wanted to appreciate it, and I wanted to sit and be invested in it for some time. As you can see, I tabbed it up quite a bit, and that is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Guys, this book was crazy. Was filming 2 more videos this week where I'm talking about this book more, so I'm gonna try not to repeat myself for when those videos come out in the next few weeks. This book is about London socialites, so it's like Gossip Girl but make them British, and it's about Magnolia Parks and BJ Ballantyne. They're childhood friends, they're in love, and they tried to be together. BJ did her dirty by sleeping with somebody, and she was like, okay, I hate you, but they never stopped loving each other. So right from the start, you just know that they're in love still, even though neither of them are really gonna say it. They both know it, and even if they're like, oh, I love you, as like a friend, in their brains, they're like, this isn't like we both know this isn't friendly, you know, like we are in love. They keep doing each other wrong because they're jealous and they're acting out of jealousy, and then they're trying to hurt the other person because of things that they did in the past. They're trying to make them hurt the same way, which is very toxic and not okay. And I know that's why a lot of people don't love this book, because it is very toxic. They know it's toxic, like they know it's bad. The writing of this book I just loved. I was obsessed with the writing and I could not put it down. Like some of the things in this book, I just could not believe the way it was delivered. It was so good. I was so entertained, and the whole time when I was reading this book I was like, this is like a 4.5. I think I'll probably stick with a 4.5. And then I closed it and I was like, this is a 5-star book. Like the feeling I got in my stomach when I closed this book and knew I was done with it, I felt ill. I could not believe that I was never gonna read this book for the first time ever again. I was looking at Pinterest boards, I was looking at Instagram, I was looking and listening to playlists related to these characters while I was reading it. I was so invested and I love it so much. I'm currently like in the middle of Daisy Hates, but I'm too busy this weekend to finish it, so that's gonna be in the October wrap up. I am continuing the series and I'm so excited. I knew I would love it and I was hoping it would be a 5-star, but the fact that it was, love. Like I'm obsessed. The last book that I read in the month of September was actually a new release that came out on Monday, so whatever Monday was, today's Friday, the 25th. Collide, which is a hockey college romance book, came out and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was so good, so entertaining, so cute. The premise here, this girl who's doing a report for like her application to graduate school, and captain of the hockey team takes the blame for something that happens that the team does, and he ends up either kicked off the team or he has to help this girl with her project. So she's doing this research paper and he's kind of the subject of it, and they're both kind of annoyed about the situation because she's like, I hate hockey for personal reasons relating to her family. I thought that was a really interesting subplot. He's really annoyed because he's like, this is so stupid, I just want to play hockey, like why am I doing this? So she doesn't like hockey, so that creates a really interesting dynamic. Once they get together and are hanging out and are doing this project or this research paper or whatever, and they're just spending time together, you can see Aiden, who's the main guy, kind of like give in, and he's slowly falling, and he ends up falling first, and he just ends up noticing every single thing about her and remembering everything. He kept her hair tie and tied her hair with it, and it wasn't even in like a smutty way. She genuinely just was like, oh, like my hair's in my face, and he put it up. This book was so cute. I could not stop reading it and it was so fun, and I truly think this is like my favorite hockey book that I've read this year. It just didn't give me the 5-star feeling, but I loved it. This book was so close to being a 5. I don't know what could have made it a 5, but it was almost there. And I just adored it. I thought it was so cute, so good, so entertaining. I would highly recommend it. It's free on Kindle Unlimited. You guys need to go read it. That was everything that I read in the month of September. It was kind of all over the place with my ratings. I feel like if I'm having a month where I'm having a lot of low ratings, they just end up continuing to be low ratings because it puts me in a bad mood, honestly. Once I get to a book that's doing really well, I end up having higher ratings, which I feel like I need to learn to not think of it that way. I need to like, you know, like I need to separate my feelings for all the books. Those were all the books that I read this month. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you found something new to read. Definitely go read Collide because it's brand new and it's so good. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you when I see you.